Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Friday Ramblings. Welcome to the fun times. We are here to discuss the last of our trilogy videos about the main Dragon Quest series. That's right, we are polishing it up. See? Ooh, polish, polish, polish. And finishing it off with Dragon Quest 7, 8, and 9. Now, let's go ahead and get this out of the way real quick. 7 was the last game to fall under the North American Dragon Warrior titling when it was originally released on the PlayStation 1. So, I'm just throwing it out there real quick, but as per usual, our standing policy is, as we go through the reviews, to simply refer to them as Dragon Quest games for the sake of consistency. So, there you go. Dragon Quest VII was originally released in 2000 for the PlayStation 1, as we just mentioned, but the version I'm familiar with, and the version we're going to be focusing on right now, is the 3DS remake that was released in February of 2013. Now, the basics of this game and why it's significant is that it is the first Dragon Quest game in the main series to be presented in a 3D form. Yep, we've graduated past 16-bit, where we were limited to the two-dimensional plane. We have gone 3D. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this because it is going to be something that's going to apply to all three games in the trilogy, and that is that, frankly, I do prefer my Dragon Quest games 2D. We touched on this a little bit in way back videos discussing Dragon Quest Joker 1 and 2 and their move to full 3D. And that it's just, to me, the Dragon Quest series is one that has never quite felt right in 3D. It's a very classic series. They do very minimal work on mechanics. They're more focused with telling great storylines as the game series has continued to go. So it's always felt like one that should embrace that nostalgic roots. Now, while I don't immediately take points off this trilogy for that, it should be noted that it is something that, for me personally, does make me have to work a little bit more to get sucked into the game atmosphere, because I find myself fiddling with the controls and going, God, this would just be so much easier if it was in 2D like the earlier games. Also, before we get too deep into 7, unlike the first two trilogies where you had a distinct storyline connection with the Erdrick trilogy and the thematic connection with the Zenithan trilogy, 7, 8, 9 basically have no connection. This was the point where the series has started basically letting each game stand on its own and succeed or fail on its own merit. That is something, again, that I do kind of dislike on the one level, because I felt like, it was something interesting. The sequels actually felt like sequels. The events of one game had something to do with the events of other games. At least for a couple of them. But, on the other hand, if you do make a game where the plot's a little weak, the subsequent games don't have to make up for this. When I kind of sit here, usually in my spare time, but something that does come up occasionally in ramblings, when we discuss movie franchises, that's something that I've had to admit about movies that I'm not huge fans of is, well, yeah, this movie would have been good if it wasn't having to make up for all the plot stupidity of the previous movie. So, again, it's kind of a pro-con debate thing. But what about 7 specifically? 7 introduces an interesting mechanic in which instead of exploring one huge world that is blatantly connected, you live on a small island with a small community, and you find an ancient mystic temple that allows you to travel to other lands in both space and time. Which means, as such, you can visit different worlds and affect events in the past and the future. It's not super tight thing, but it does touch here and there. You will occasionally, upon visiting a world, notice a difference in technology that is explained because that particular area you're in and that particular culture you're visiting does not exist in the same decade as your hub world. The hub world, of course, is referred to the island of Estard. That's the problem with these cold months. Sometimes those winter colds sneak up on you and mess with your sinuses. We're good, though. So where is our character roll call? Well, you have the hero, who, of course, like in any great Dragon Quest game, you get to name. Although, in the official manga adaptations, he is called Auster. A-U-S-T-E-R. You have Kiefer, who is the Prince of Estard Island and the presumptive heir to the throne. Kiefer is that classic prince that is not thrilled with the idea of being a prince, and as such is more than willing to vanish from the castle to go on adventures with the hero. They're joined by the daughter of the mayor of the hero's hometown of Pilchard Bay on the island of Estard. Maribel, the female childhood friend who tends to be a little bit more serious than your buddy Kiefer. You're also joined later in the games with the lycanthropic Ruff, the old man dashing knight Sir Mervyn, and the dancing warrior Aishe. I'll be honest, it's A-I-S-H-E. So it's not Aisha, because that's with an A at the end. So I'm going with Aish, but if somebody wants to suggest an alternate pronunciation, feel free to do so. Text-heavy RPG games, you're not always sure about your pronunciations. Before the 3DS remake, her name was translated as Ara, A-I-R-A, which, you can go with either one. She is your well-balanced magic fighter type, and an interesting character in her own right. In fact, she's probably one of the highlight characters, her and Ruff, of the game. As I said, the game involves you bouncing around various islands and cultures, defeating evil in each new location until you discover the greatest of evils and his plot, which explains why you have to use a portal to visit all these alternate lands. Long story short, the other nations and islands were magically sealed off from the island of Estard. But you managed to restore enough of the world to confront Orgo Demur, the Demon Lord. And you confront him in order to allow the entire world to live at peace and be able to interact with each other. Sounds like a standard Dragon Quest plot, which, I'm going to be honest, is probably why this and the first game, which is more of a, in the case of Dragon Quest 1, more about the primitive mechanics, and as I've said before, it's basically the foundation that everything else is built off of. And let's be honest, nobody builds a house foundation and goes, "Oh no, that's good. That's great. We're never going to get better than this, so let's just leave this as it is." You expect one to be a low-ranking game in a franchise, because if it's not, you're probably not actually making improvements in your games. But 7's down there too, in the depths. It's just, the plot is very typical. It's very cliche for not just RPGs, but Dragon Quest games in particular. A lot of the characters just really feel like rehashes of old characters. The designs are very expected. I mean, part of that's to keep the consistent staff from game to game, including our beloved Kira Toriyama, who I will never speak ill of as a character designer, but I mean, there's only so many different ways the same guy can design humans to look like. And even then, I feel that's not 100% fair. Like, Aish has a very interesting outfit in that it... And again, I'm really trying not to be pervy here when I say that. Oh yeah, that female's got a real good-looking outfit. No, not in that way. In the sense that she's a character who's supposed to be a ritual dancer. It's kind of a thin nod to the Middle Eastern, like, belly dancer type people, which was also represented in Dragon Quest IV. So you're, again, kind of getting that retread stuff. But we're trying to be generally fair here. But at the same time, she's a warrior, so they design her outfit to kind of hint at the belly dancer motif, but also be a little more conservative because she's actively doing her warrior thing for you. And the choice of colors and stuff hints at her connection to another character in the game. So it's very well done in that sense. But again, it basically just... If you've played the previous 6 Dragon Quest games, you're like, she kind of reminds me of a couple other heroines. And it's the same thing with Kiefer. It's like, I feel like I've met Kiefer before. Ruff is kind of a little bit different. As I said, Ruff's one of the shining moments there. Little doggy boy. He's cute. He's fun. He's a good scrappy fighter. But so much of the game, like when I played it, I was anticipated about playing it. I was excited about playing it. I'm like, yeah, a new Dragon Quest game. It's, one I'd never played before. As I said before, 5 and 6 I'd played as fan-translated ROMs because they weren't commercially available here in America. And then when they became so, I bought those remakes because I wanted to support the franchise. But 7, it's like, hey, I never played it originally on the PlayStation, so I don't, it was a completely 100% new experience for me. And it's like, by about the midpoint of the game, I'm like, I'm going to finish this game because it's Dragon Quest. It feels fun to play because all the good mechanics are there. But I'm just not feeling this story. And ultimately, that is where it's going to lie in the series. Because it is a standalone game, it doesn't directly impact the plots of 8 and 9. Play it if you want to do a full Dragon Quest run. But I would not play this game if you're looking for a game to draw you into the franchise. Even if you want a relatively modern game, so you want to stick to something from the last 30 years, not counting the remakes, obviously, because the remakes are much newer, 2016, but or even the base aesthetic of it and all that reflects a newer generation of gaming, I'd still probably go with 8, which we'll discuss in a minute. So, it's there. Play it for the sake of being a Dragon Quest completionist, but I wouldn't really recommend 7 as an early entry in the series. Play 4, play 6, 3 if you want a taste of the original trilogy, but I would save 7 for later once you really just kind of are like, yeah, I like Dragon Quest games in general. I like the character designs. I like the nostalgic, comfortable feel of the games. I like the mechanics. Go for it. So with that, we're going to go jump into number 8. So Dragon Quest VIII was originally released in... Let me see. Let me get my dates right. Okay, the original PlayStation 2 version was released in November of 2005. Hey, just in time for the Christmas season. Whereas the North American 3DS remake was released on January 20th, 2017. Now again, we are going to focus this review on the 3DS remake, as that is the only version of 8 I have played. So, and because that's the version that's going to be a lot easier for you to obtain if you want to try out this game. So please, I do love comments, but don't feel that you have to sit there and go, well, that only applies to the 3DS version. Yes, like any remake, that may tweaks, but having not played the PlayStation 2 version, I'm pretty much just reviewing the 3DS version, so it's okay. If you want to go down and track the PlayStation 2 version down because you have a functional PlayStation 2 and not a 3DS, or you just want to play the original version for whatever reason, that's great too. But not everything I may discuss may apply to your version. Woo! So, Dragon Quest VIII, also known as Journey of the Cursed King. Oh yeah, forgot to mention. Subtitle of 7. Bad on me. Because this does apply if you're looking for the 3DS version or any kind of mobile remake release, is Fragments of the Forgotten Past. Okay, that's it for 7. 8, my review's all fragmented. Much like that game. Dragon Quest VIII Journey of the Cursed King discusses, as it says, a king who is cursed, along with his daughter, who is also cursed, and their loyal servant knight, along with his thiefy friend. Yay! So, let's get a little more specific. King Trode is the king of Trodain and the titular character as the Cursed King. He was transformed to a toad-like creature by the evil wizard Dolmagus, and is trying to find a way to lift the curse upon him. He is not a playable character in the game, although he does accompany you as a perpetual NPC, pushing the storyline forward, and can be optionally spoken to give advice on where to go to fulfill your current subquest. Princess Medea, as the daughter of King Trode, was turned into a horse when her father was cursed by Dolmagus, and she travels with the heroes by pulling the cart with their supplies. She and the hero were close childhood friends, and as she has grown older, she has come to love the hero. And during the gameplay, you will find a spring where Medea turns human for a few moments, allowing her to continue to encourage the hero and reassure him that his friend is still quite human in mind and has faith he will restore her, while also foreshadowing her desire to marry him. You have the hero, of course you can name whatever you want, as one of the royal guards of Trode and the only one who escapes the curse. He has a pet mouse, Munchie, who always rides in his right coat pocket and occasionally does provide a little lighthearted storyline comic relief in the game. Yangus, the former bandit who journeys with the hero and King Trode. And it's highly implied that later playable character Red, a tough and ruthless pirate captain, who you get to recruit after being introduced to her and helping her with some of her own issues, got to have a bit of a romantic past with Yangus, and as such may again in the future if you save the world and everybody else, freeing up Yangus to do his own thing. Woo! As we said, we have the aforementioned Red, who was an NPC in the original game, but is a playable character in this game. Mori, a quirky and energetic owner of the Monster Arena, who is optionally playable in the 3DS version after defeating him in the tournament he hosts at the Monster Arena. Angelo, who is a Templar Knight, and finds himself unable to live with the strict moral codes of the Templars due to an addiction to gambling and the physical enjoyment of women. Fortunately for all you ratings-conscious folks, it is basically all dialogue. He is the perpetual flirt who never actually gets the woman because he's too much of a flirt and a ladies' man. He's not. He's not the kind of man you take home to meet mom. However, he is faithfully devoted to the abbot Francesco. So he is a good guy, just not quite as good a guy as the hero or even Yangus. Finally, the infamous among Dragon Quest community, Jessica, a chest area well endowed, short-tempered and tomboyish sorceress born to a wealthy family. She seeks to avenge her brother Alistair, who is slain by Dulmagus. In the 3DS remake, you do have, and yes, this is huge plot spoilers, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to you this one, because you may want to look this up to make sure you do the right things. In the 3DS remake, if the game is played correctly, you do have the option at the end of the game of, instead of marrying your childhood sweetheart, the Princess Medea, once she turns human, you can instead marry Jessica. Kind of a nice little throwback to 5 and the choice of your heavenly bride. You have your choice between two upper-class women. And of course, Dulmagus, like in a classic Dragon Quest form, is a big bad guy you know about from the beginning, but there is a greater bad guy behind him, Lord Rapthorn, who is the one who must be defeated before the world can truly be at peace. As far as your mechanics and graphics and visual appearance, because this game is also done in full 3D like 7, it does play and feel very similar to 7, except it has the advantage of a much more interesting plot and characters. As I've said, since coming out, Jessica has become a fan favorite in the Dragon Quest community when it comes to, hey, who's the best female companion / love interest in the games? Hey, Jessica tends to rank pretty high in the polls. Which makes sense because she's a wonderful mix of well-read and educated, but also willing to get her hands dirty magic user, who, as we've discussed before, has a very classically, beautifully, and physically appealing body, which occasionally gets her in trouble due to various men thinking she's nothing but a pretty face over the course of the game. But she only has eyes for one. Will she get her man? Well, that depends on how you play the game. Besides that, as I said, the character of the hero gets a big advantage over a lot of the Dragon Quest heroes in that, being a royal guard who managed to escape the curse and is standing by his king, you automatically get a bit of a step up in your motivations. We know why you're trying to save the world. We know why you are going on this quest. It's not a grand prophecy. We've seen that over and over in the games. Similar to the character from Dragon Quest VI who was a prince, you simply find yourself in the wrong place at the right time, and your natural heroic nature allows you to go beyond a simple guard to a great hero who has the entire world's future resting on his shoulders. Luckily, you got a strong sword and a lot of skill behind you. But you can't get by with a little help from your friends, and Yongus is an excellent backup guy. His thieving skills prove important in various parts of the game, and his lovable, gruff nature plays well against Jessica's educated, upper-class roots, two of them often sniping at each other in order to relieve drama and tension in the plot. However, his ability to be more loyal than perhaps anybody else in the game proves that you don't have to be from the upper crust of society to be somebody I would trust my life with. So I would rank 8 above 7. Story play is more enjoyable. The lack of needing to constantly bounce back and forth to this shrine to warp here and there gives it much more of a saving the world feel. Like, yeah, eventually 7 just becomes one big world, but it feels a little too relying on the magic mystic stuff and not enough, hey, let's go out, grab our weapon, and be the best person we can be, traveling the world looking for evil to slay. Those are always the best fantasy heroes. Yeah, you can have some spellcasters in your stuff, but when literally your ability to even go find evil requires powerful ancient magic, it just feels bogged down. No, get in your cart. Have your princess horse pull you to the next town. You're all good. That's all you need. So, 8 is on the playlist, but personally, I would start with the last game we're going to review, and that is 9. Released in North America in July of 2010, Dragon Quest IX was the first to be initially released on a handheld console, being the last of the games to be released on the 3DS. Wait, no, excuse me. We're not going to go super deep into 10 and 11. They did happen. I'm going to kind of get to them in the wrap-up. Technically, there was a 3DS version of 11, but it was simultaneously released on consoles and PC. Frankly, I don't know anybody that's really played the 3DS version. Like, it's just... It just... I don't know. It's just one of those things. Technically, 11 had a portable release, but it's not recommended. I would just go ahead and get your home console release or home PC release. But we'll discuss 11 in a minute. Real quick wrap up to it. Dragon Quest IX, Sentinels of the Starry Skies. Your main character can be a hero or a heroine, as we go back to the complete customization of your characters. Along with Stella, a flippant fairy keen on fashion, who, as an NPC, provides your main source of transportation around both the mortal world and a little bit of the celestial realms. You also have doop-a-doop-a-doop. Doop-doop. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. Doop-doop. Doop-a-doop. Sorry. Got a little too overwhelmed looking at my notes there. You also have a variety of other recruitable characters to fill out your party, similar to 3, where you recruit who you need and give them the classes you need to play the game. The beauty of 9 lies in the fact that instead of Zenithia, we have the floating kingdom of the Celestians, which includes the main protagonists. Celestians have been trying for some time to reach the, quote, realm of the Almighty. However, before they can leave, they require a fruit called the FYGG. Fig. Fruit is very rare, and the Yggdrasil tree that it grows on must be empowered with benevolence, which is obtained by helping people in the mortal realms. Thus, the main character must obtain enough benevolence for the world tree to produce the figs, which is how they end up in the mortal realm, fighting against evil. Eventually, though, the Celestians are attacked from below by a mysterious and powerful force, and the force scatters the Celestians and knocks the figs down to the mortal realm, thus preventing anybody from ascending, and the Celestians from doing their job of protecting the mortals from evil. The main character awakens without their wings or halo and finds they've been rescued from the base of a waterfall. Having lost most of their Celestian powers, but not their memory or the ability to see deceased and magical spirits, they travel about trying to find a way back to the observatory. Thus sets up the plot of the game. You must find out who attacked the observatory and is trying to wipe out the Celestians and their ability to protect the mortals, as well as help spirits of the recently deceased peacefully pass on. What makes the game so special, though? Well, in a lot of ways, their recruitable party system's a wonderful throwback to 3. You also have an interesting twist on the old Zenithan Trilogy plot, where the floating kingdom is a known goal from the get-go, as opposed to something you find out over the course of the game, and getting there itself is the goal, as opposed to getting there to gain the knowledge and weaponry you need to achieve your goal. See, it all comes together. But one of my favorite aspects of 9 is that they take what actually works about MMOs, which is the customizable skill tree mechanics and character sprites that do change appearance every time you swap any of your equipment, and incorporate it into a single player mode. Thus you get an RPG that is the best hybrid of the modern MMOs and the few advantages that they did bring to the genre. And yes, I do say few because, as I've said before, I'm not an MMO fan. With the classic single-player console experience you get from most Dragon Quest games. But more importantly than that, the somewhat simple plot is driven by a series of engaging characters and smaller quests that keep you making steady progress, which encourages you to keep playing and exploring the game, along with a variety of optional side quests, many of which you will not beat until the post-game anyway, simply due to the nature of some of the quests that also harken back to MMOs with like the, hey, get, farm X number of items from battling specific bad guys. It happens. Honestly, out of the what I call unlinked trilogy here, I would say that 9 would be your best bet to play if you are a more modern gamer who is not well versed in classic RPGs. As I said, you'll find a lot of the mechanics will remind you of the MMO and MMO-inspired style games that are everywhere now, which will make it allow you to focus more on the enjoyable plot and character development as opposed to learning a whole bunch of new mechanics. For longtime Dragon Quest fans, that general, just unique feel of a Dragon Quest game is still there, which is the biggest key thing. But you get enough tweaks and innovations to the gameplay experience to feel like this was a sequel worth making. The little bit of nice reminders of past games feel more like it's there because it is one franchise as opposed to or recycling material like, again, I kind of felt with 7 to an extent. 9 is one of those games that you will have trouble putting down. You will sink multiple hours into any given playthrough. There is no quick, oh, let me just blast through this one little section, half an hour tops and I'll go to bed. This is one of those games where you'll be sitting there for 2 hours at a time and going, God, I really just need to, okay, maybe just a few more minutes and then I'll go to bed, I swear. It's one of those games. Because of that, as I said, relatively quick progress due to the game dividing itself up into a series of smaller quests. Seems like there's always one more thing to do that feels like it's just going to be something quick and easy to do, and you're encouraged to do so. It's a great game. Pick it up. Enjoy it. But when it's all said and done, well, where do we go beyond this? As I hinted before, there is technically a 10 and 11, and a 12 has been announced. So let's go ahead and just discuss this to wrap up the video. 10 was an MMO with a secondary single-player mode that was only released in Japan. Therefore, I have not played it, so I'm not going to give major commentary on it, except if you've built a franchise on single-player classic console experiences, don't make a bloody MMO as a main series game. Make it a spin-off. You have a ton of spin-offs. One more wouldn't have killed you. 12, as I said, has just been announced this past year, and as such is not out. There's nothing I can review. 11, I'm not finished playing it. It took me a little bit to make time to get to starting 11 due to various other games and day job and, being an adult. But I am in the process of playing 11. I am probably about 60-65% done with it. It's hard to tell exactly since this is my first playthrough of it. I will go ahead and say one of the major things I love about 11 is that you have the option of playing in classic two-dimensional mode, which is how I play, or for the more modern feeling gamer, you can go 3D. So, more power to ya. Play your Dragon Quest however you want to play it. I may do a solo review of 11 when I finally finally beat it. In the meantime and in between time, though, this does settle us for all things Dragon Quest. There have been anime and manga based off various individual games. There's tons of merchandise. That's all out there. But as far as the video games go, you know what? We've done several videos now discussing pretty much every game that has Dragon Quest in the title. There's some crossover games that feature Dragon Quest characters, such as Fortune Street. This most recent Smash Brothers game brought in the hero character, whose different outfits turn them into the heroes from the different mainstream games. Which is great, but as far as games under the Dragon Quest banner, we basically covered them all. So you're done. We're wrapping up 2021, which is a major banner anniversary year for the Dragon Quest series, and we are saying, you know what? As a series I've been playing for most of my life, both main series and many of those spin-offs, thank you. Thank you to everybody that's worked on every game, even the ones that I did not enjoy quite as much as the others. Let's go ahead and say it. Even a bad Dragon Quest game is better than most flat-out bad video games. I mean, I know I kind of ragged on 7 a bit, but I would rather play 7 than a lot of RPGs that I started to play and abandoned because they just didn't click for me. Or ones that I watched gameplay footage of and went, nope, I'm out. Nope, 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 nope. There's so much that just watching this game is aggravating me. There's no way I could play it. So, there you go. Get your Dragon Quest groove on. You got a whole ton of pile of games to pick from. Some of them bounce out of the RPG genre. Some of them go into this RPG subgenres. Pick your poison. Have at it. Get back with me. Let me know what you liked. What your favorite Dragon Quest main series game is. What your favorite spin-off game is. Or just plain how much you're looking forward to 12. Or if you have finished 11, tell me how much I'm going to love the final battle. Because those final boss battles are always so fun. Always so epic. For now, though, that's it for Dragon Quest. However, every Friday we will have something else to ramble about because that's how I roll. And while we will be honest, we will not rant and be overly negative. Come on. We're counting down to Christmas. It's the time of positivity, of joy. You know what? Even if you don't celebrate Christmas, if you're a Hanukkah type, if you're a Kwanzaa type, if you're a, you know what, I don't believe in any holidays type, be happy. Enjoy it all. Whatever you're into, enjoy it. Because as we say here, Roulette Productions, it's your entertainment. Let it bring you joy. Be constructive in your criticism, because we're not here to hate, we're here to educate. See you next Friday.